Getting plugins for free is great, but they should offer you something that you'd typically have to pay for, or something completely unique. So for this video, we have 6 fully parametric EQs, 4 analog emulations, and 4 mastering EQs, all of which could save you money, or they could offer you something new the next time you mix or you master. So let's cover the 14 best free EQs. Let's start with the best free fully parametric EQs. So color EQ is a 6-band EQ that acts how you'd expect. However, you get the added benefit of these AB filter types. The intensity of the dual peaks with the type B filters could be blended in. Meanwhile, the Q values are precise enough for notch filtering or gradual enough for tone shaping. ZL Equalizer is similar to the FabFilter Pro Q3 or the Kirchhoff EQ. It allows for multiple filter types with various stereo placements and a wide array of slope values. Bands could be soloed, made dynamic with peak or RMS monitoring, triggered by sidechained inputs, and more. Now, the operation doesn't feel as smooth as the Pro Q3, but that's to be expected. Equalizer V4 by Tone Boosters isn't technically free, but the demo only withholds saving presets, something that you could override with most DAWs. It's a 15-band EQ with comprehensive filter types, left, right, and mid-side placement, dynamic band functionality, and even AI assist. Now, I wanted to include it since its demo is more than usable, but hopefully some folks will purchase it for its incredibly reasonable price of $29. M Equalizer only includes 6 bands, but offers amazing flexibility with band routing, automatic gain control, a limiter for ear protection, and truly impressive customization options. Now, some notable features include areas that add descriptors to various frequency ranges, and harmonics, which create controllable filters that correspond to the frequency of the original filter. Shape It is the simplest EQ in this section, but it's also the most user-friendly and responsive. You can create up to 10 bands with various slopes, solo the bands, highlight and affect multiple bands at once, blend the overall amount of amplitude change, and lock filters in place. Keyboard commands make this plugin even easier to use for making changes quickly. Last up for this section is Spline EQ, a linear phase 4-band processor with a unique approach to filtering. We can control each band's gain, frequency, and slope, with Q values and filter types coming from the interaction between the bands, which, as you can see, creates some impressive results. Global controls let you quickly change overall frequency, overall gain, and the gain scale, while a precision window lets you control the nature of its linear phase processing. Now, the majority of these EQs act as you'd expect. So let's take a listen to the 2 unique ones, Color EQ and Spline EQ, and notice how they allow for filtering that's difficult to achieve without them. Real quick, if you want to get your mixes to sound like professional songs, we have a mixing membership called the Sage Audio Membership, where you get access to Sage Audio University for in-depth mixing and mastering courses, private one-on-one mentorship, unlimited personalized mixing feedback, and 50 free mastered songs per year. Go to sageaudio.com or use the link in the description. Next, let's look at the best free analog emulation EQs. So just a heads up, there are a lot of analog obsession plugins on this list from here on out, but I've narrowed it down to what I think are his best. So Fiverr emulates Neves inductor EQs found in the shelfer channel strip, but it adds high and low shelves and variable Q values. Mild harmonic distortion is introduced with the option to drive the input and compensate with the trim to achieve higher THD levels. SSQ is an SSL 611 EQ emulation with the addition of low and high pass filters and the ability to drive the input to create more harmonic distortion. FL enables the high pass and low pass filters. Meanwhile, LB and HB tabs switch the filter from a shelf to a bell, just like the hardware. Now, only the low and the high mid bands are fully parametric. TREQ emulates Trident Audio's 80B EQ, and it follows its 4-band design very closely with the addition of variable input and output amplitudes. Additionally, this EQ seems to introduce the greatest level of harmonic distortion. Lastly, BXQ emulates Dangerous Music's Bax EQ with the addition of mid-side processing instead of just left-right. Baxandall shelving curves are incredibly smooth, making this a good choice for mastering, but the high level of THD and the potentially aggressive high-pass and low-pass filters makes this better suited for mixing. Now, one thing to note, all of these plugins allow for 4x oversampling when you click the Analog Obsession logo. So let's take a listen to these 4 EQs used on the same drum bus and notice that even though their center frequencies are made as close as possible, we achieve differing sounds due to various filter shapes, types, slopes, and so on. Last up, let's cover the best free mastering EQs. So OAQ offers a simple way to shape important frequencies on the left and right, as well as the mid and side. Processing could be linked or independent, and when the drive is set to 0, there's almost no harmonic distortion. But it can quickly be introduced by increasing the dial. Higher levels of drive result in higher ordered harmonics, but again, oversampling is an option to reduce aliasing. The NEQ Mastering Edition is a recreation of an incredibly rare Neumann EQ. The curves are gradual, and it includes subtle to moderate high-pass filters. Processing can be switched from left and right to mid and side, individual channels could be bypassed, and the total harmonic distortion is capped at a predetermined level. MaxBax is a personal favorite. It's similar to BXQ, but without a high-pass filter and with the addition of subtle mid-frequency bands. The curves are super gentle, harmonic distortion is always incredibly low, and mid-side processing is an option. Now, instead of oversampling, a low-pass filter is used to remove aliasing distortion. Last up is Slick EQ by Tokyo Don Labs. It's been around for a while, but it still holds up. The defaulted automatic gain compensation creates a really enjoyable connection between the 3 filters, 4 if you introduce the high pass. Now, 4 different EQ types introduce some versatility, and the output stage lets you introduce saturation. Linear is incredibly clean, and funky has the most aggressive distortion. So let's take a listen to these 4 EQs on a full mix and notice how they each impart a controlled and subtle but distinct sound. As I mentioned earlier, if you want to get your mixes to sound like professional songs, we have a mixing membership called the Sage Audio Membership, where you get access to Sage Audio University for in-depth mixing and mastering courses, private one-on-one mentorship, unlimited personalized mixing feedback, and 50 free mastered songs per year. Go to sageaudio.com or use the link in the description.